sosiale medier I dag, går ofte kvalitetsinnhold ubemerket. På Den.social blir brukere betalt for å skape, evaluere og sørge for kvalitetsinnhold. Innholdsskapere blir belønnet basert på engasjementet og rekkevidden innlegget eller kommentaren deres får. Evaluering av innhold blir belønnet basert på hastighet og presisjon I forhold til hva som kommer til å trende og gå viralt. Eiere av fellesskap blir belønnet basert på engasjementet I sitt fellesskap. På Den.social blir kvalitetsinnhold belønnet.
What's up, Norway and the rest of the world? This is episode 34 of Coffee with Den. We do this every week at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, and we even have links and stuff where you can join us and things like that. So I hope you will, and we're going to talk about stuff that's been happening on Den and stuff that other people have been posting on Den, and generally just kind of wake up and have coffee together. So that's what this show is about. And it sounds like Gravity Crab doesn't have his coffee yet.
That's right.
Yep. So, so what's going on? Let's see. It's June 22nd. Wow. Middle of the year. There's been some new layers on Den that won the layer creation process. So we'll talk about that. What else is there? Let's pull up the agenda. That's usually what that's for, right? If you're unfamiliar, there's a layer called Den, and inside that layer is where I post the episodes for this show that I'm on right now that we're doing together. And your links are in there. You can find a link here that says join the call live, and you can pop in and talk to us. So like I said, voting's closed. We got new layers. We've got firearms, we've got photography, and we've got eroticism. I'm looking forward to the first cross post that's able to integrate all three of those layers. So we'll see. That's a feature coming up as well. Speaking of features, I don't have this on the agenda, but the next feature that is coming to Den is going to be the ability to post anonymously. So that'll be interesting. We're going to talk about that. I think I saw some comments in the reply section already. So as soon as Gravity Crab gets back with his coffee, you know, it's only the name of the show. I don't know why he wouldn't have it already. It's not like it's part of the theme or anything. But when he gets back, I want to show off my new coffee cup to get things started because it's amazing. And it has its own theme. I'm going to play. I'm going to roll with this. I'm just going to keep talking about Gravity Crab and my coffee cup. So the name of the cup is Captain Albert Alexander. It's based on a captain that fought walruses, and it's a song that's sung by androids, automatons, in California, typically. So pretty excited to show that off. Oh, he's back. He's back.
Listen, I forgot about coffee. The most important part of this show. And my fucking favorite stupid law degree mug was dirty. So.
Oh, how about that?
So I fixed it.
All right. Well, welcome again. So I was just talking about my new coffee mug while you were making coffee.
Oh no!
It arrived.
It arrived.
It arrived. I have it.
Oh, yeah, that one.
It's that one.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah, and so my wife and I sometimes go to like a pottery thing, and we make pottery stuff. And this time we made more coffee cups. So I'm going to bring it up on the camera here. Let me solo myself so we can really show it off.
Show off.
Solo. Yeah. So there we go. So it's full. Got to be careful, but there he is.
Holy crap!
Albert Alexander. Oh, it's right the same size as my head too. Captain Albert Alexander. And I don't know if you can see the writing on the bottom a little bit there. That's what it says on the bottom. I'm not going to tilt it because I'll spill coffee all over myself and my keyboard. But you can just press the I believe button.
That is an impressive coffee mug.
What was this? Let's switch over to you now. what was this law degree mug
Oh,
you were talking about?
You've seen this before. This is my mug that I bought at Goodwill that says "Don't confuse your Google search with my law degree."
Ah, yeah. I do remember that one.
Which I don't have a law degree. I just love that mug so much.
Yeah, that's in line with like the shirt that says "No, I will not fix your computer" or stuff like that.
And that's what I was thinking when I bought it. Like, as a computer nerd, everybody thinks it's funny to buy you a shirt that says "No, I won't fix your computer." How many do you have?
Oh, it's I think I might have had one, but I know that a lot of people have like shown it to me, like, haha, look, like you're the guy that would wear this if, if any of us in the family would.
I think I have got 3 of them that say "No, I will not fix your computer." But Cassie, my friend Cassie, the lady that actually does our catering and all that stuff for the Decent Games events, bought me a shirt that says "I'm here because you broke something." Which I think is my favorite version of that shirt.
Yeah, I like that one better.
I wear it to. We have a couple of customers at the store that are like friends. Like I could go to their house and just like hang out and say hi if I wanted, as opposed to doing computer repair. So that one I tend to wear to their houses.
Yeah, it's more, and it automatically assumes it's their fault. That phrasing.
As all computer technicians.
I'm here because you broke something.
When people call me at the store and they say like, "Oh, my laptop screen broke and I'm not sure how," I'm over here like, "Bullshit, you know how. Like, you did it somehow."
When I was in the Navy, we had there's just always questions we had to ask right off the bat whenever we were troubleshooting stuff. The last 3 years I was not on a ship serving. I was working with a bunch of civilian tech reps, people that would go out and fix shit whenever people on the ship couldn't figure out how to fix it, that kind of thing. The backup. But we'd always go back and we had rules of troubleshooting, and the first one was always, what's the last thing you touched? Like, what's the last thing you did that you changed? Did you change anything anywhere, regardless of how irrelevant it may seem? What is literally the last thing you did?
Toyed around in any settings menus that could take me hours to find myself.
Yeah. And then the other one was the second rule of troubleshooting was I just had it. This was years and years ago. Anyway, we had a sign. Apparently, my memory's not that great.
We had a sign. Of course you did.
Yep.
So how have you been?
I've been pretty good. I've been all right. I've been concerned a lot, about the whole world thing.
Oh yeah, well that's all of us, I think. We watch at least part of the news daily and go, "Oh shit, why did I do that?"
Yeah. Well, I finally I don't know, had kind of a come to Jesus moment, where I just had to accept things that are real, that even though I ideologically are opposed to them, they exist. And this is the way the world is. And well, what are you going to do about it? You can feel bad about how it is, or you can accept that it is that way and either accept it or maybe try to do something about it. So here's the question I'll put to you, Gravity Crab. We live in a dystopian nightmare.
Yes.
What are we going to do about it?
Oh God.
We're going to build Den, first of all.
There's that.
We're going to build a community on Den, and we're going to get together and talk about how we're going to, now that we have features that make it more in line with what's expected on mainstream, we can start really pushing to get all of our friends and family to get off of, predatory sites like Facebook. And stuff. Now, I'm not saying I want to bring all of Facebook into Den. It's kind of a different crowd. That's not what I'm saying.
Honestly, we should have a layer. I haven't made a layer proposal yet, so this could be fun. I should make a layer proposal at some point that is how do we take ourselves out of the dystopian shit show that we live in? Or it obviously better, of course. It could just be a place for brainstorming of just hey, this is bad. How do we make this less bad? And then
we could do all of
that. Makes sense.
We could do all of that in the marketing layer. And then when we come up with a good idea, we'll just be cool, now let's market this that we just came up with.
How do we make money off of this?
Well, not so much make money. Well, yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, that's nice.
But that is the happy side effect that makes this possible. It's we can either, I've been thinking about that a lot too. We can either rely on private funding to run a big thing like Den, the ambitions of Den. We can either rely on advertising funding, which will influence the just as much as private funding would influence even the perception of like bias and stuff like that, just like news outlets and things like that. Or we can use this novel new concept of blockchain and cryptocurrency to create a marketplace that is able to support itself without any sort of like questionable or predatory action.
You mean
which
that
is like
blockchain and crypto thingy that's
yeah,
down in the shitter right now?
yeah. Well,
And slowly doing this. Just like, I say
this
that
is
like
a conversation. You know what? I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that because I was having I'll call it a conversation. That's putting it nicely. But I was having a talk with someone about that.
Having a tiff with somebody.
Yeah, and I guess the root of the problem with our tiff is that we weren't even in the same universe, much less on the same page, right? And so anytime I'm talking to somebody, I'm trying to convey an idea or like make sure that we are talking about the same thing and thinking about it the same way. I have to find some granule of like earth that we can stand on together and be like, okay, this is reality.
You gotta have the focal
Now,
point.
so let's start there where we can agree on this, And the argument was at what numbers mean. What does the data mean? Does it inherently mean anything? Or is everything an interpretation of the data extrapolated by experience and by your ability to project, based on what you've learned in the past? Now, that's a complicated way of saying number goes down doesn't necessarily mean everything end. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like there's so much cool shit happening that is not reflected in the charts and in the numbers of like whether it be the number of dollars that a certain object is worth, and even value in itself is something I've been thinking about a lot. So I don't know. All I want to say is that the data's there, and it doesn't have to be scary. It doesn't have to be like, unless you've got your net worth in it, which you shouldn't.
I mean, because like for instance, you don't have to have the pretty little green bar going up for Den to function. I mean, the technology behind it doesn't necessarily rely on anything.
And that's the other thing is it's just two things, like the dollar value of the market versus the actual physical happenings. Just because the weather, just because the Weather Channel doesn't make as much money these days doesn't mean there isn't weather to be reported, and it's not happening out there. You know what I mean? They're just completely different things.
Oh God, I watched Network at work the other day. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's all right. That's all right. But yeah, stuff like that is, okay. A lot of people lost money, and that's terrible. I lost money. I got money in, auction nodes. We do, right? We're running that to support Session. We use Session. Yeah. You know what I mean? So like we see every day, you and I talked to you this morning on Session. We see every day that even though the number, like here, let me bring it up. Let's talk about this. We don't ever talk about this on any of the other shows on Den.
Right.
So fuck it. Let's talk about this.
I mean, we're kind of on a let's roll through it. There's so much random stuff happening like in the world plus on Den this week. This should be an interesting show.
Yeah. And we've got some good replies and good things to talk about with like the new layers coming up too.
Oh yeah, those will be fun.
Let's see here. I've got all my tabs up from when I went to sleep last night. What is it that Dave has up that he looks at? I've got Twitter, Facebook, something about dehumanizing. Oh yeah, dehumanizing language that fueled the Satanic Temple arson attack. And then so I'm reading that.
Holy
and then
shit, Dave.
Yeah, I'm reading that and I'm like, what the fuck is what is the Satanic Temple? What even is that? And then I found out there's two things. There's like a cool one and a not cool one. There's the Church of Satan, which is apparently not the same thing. No, anyway, so then this is my rabbit hole, right, from last night. And then I end up on the website for the Satanic Temple, and I'm reading their 7 fundamental tenets. And I got to be honest with you, they're pretty good. Like I can get down with that. I can completely get down with that.
I love.
Let's read. This isn't part of the show, but it is now.
Dave is currently, the show has turned from Den to we are currently trying to convert people to Satanism.
No, I'm trying to do nothing of the type. I'm just saying I learned about this last night.
This is wild.
And I thought that their 7 tenets were very interesting, especially the 7th one, because the 7th one says this: Every tenet is a guiding principle designed to inspire nobility in action and thought. The spirit of compassion, wisdom, and justice should always prevail over the written or spoken word.
Well, damn.
That's saying like even these tenets aren't like law. You have to override even the commandments or the tenets or whatever with the spirit of compassion, wisdom, and justice. And I was like, you know what? That's an interesting point to go out on.
Am I a
Because
Satanist?
shut up, David. All right. So then
Empathy towards all creatures on Earth? Excuse me? Hold up.
no, this is what it says. Yeah. Are we still talking about this? All right.
Well, I
Yeah.
am. You can get out of this rabbit hole that's going to destroy us if you want, but
No, that's all right. Belief should conform to one's best. This is the one that I think
Yeah, the
a lot of people
science one.
have a problem with.
Yeah.
A faith over scientific reasoning, or you know what? Even like what scientific reasoning is a debate. Like what's proper scientific process, that kind of stuff.
Wild.
So anyway, yeah. And then I found out that I think today a new album comes out by the Savants of Soul.
Well, I'm gonna go
called
Spotify real quick.
Yeah, called Spot at the Top. So a little shout out to the Savants of Soul.
Awesome. Like,
I haven't heard it yet. Yeah. So definitely in the music layer, I think a review should be written up. I'll have to ask them if they've got copyright bounties out, and then I'll record a candid first time listen video or something like that.
Cool, actually.
Every time I try to do music with like YouTube or Facebook and stuff, I end up getting like my account disabled and shit. Yep. So I'm reluctant to do that.
It's for some reason. I mean, I know it's because of how licensing for music works, which is still one of the strangest areas of licensing in the world. But it's anytime there's anything that could be considered like a copyright infringement, YouTube will nail you for it.
Mm-hmm. I've noticed that too. Yeah.
I can't believe you made a Babylonian god as a mug, essentially. It looks like a Mesopotamian sculpture.
Oh, yeah. And then I was looking for memes.
How did we go from humanizing language to Step Brothers memes?
Well, what was I going to? I was going to open something up, but then I got sidetracked on last night's tabs.
I have no earthly idea. We're gone from this at this point. Oh, I think it was the chart
fine by me.
Numbers and how like.
Oh, yeah. That's right. So let's look at Oxen, right? Because we're both familiar with that. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go to CoinGecko. Oops, not. And look at numbers, right? So let's first of all go to dark mode because screw that.
God.
And then Oxen is a fork of Monero. And what they did was they forked it and they moved to proof of stake with service nodes. And the service nodes are running a sort of, an onion routed privacy network called LokiNet. They used to be called Loki. And that, along with the mobile and desktop messenger app called Session, create a really cool privacy network. Now, Session's not 100% tied into LokiNet yet, but the interesting thing about that is LokiNet allows UDP and TCP routing instead of just TCP, which is what Tor does. So you can do things like low latency voice calls and stuff over an onion routed network via UDP, where you couldn't do that over Tor. So it makes basically like video conferencing eventually will be available, which will be dope.
And we use this. This is one of those things that gets used every single day. I mean, I think we probably throw stuff up in Session constantly.
Yeah. So we're Gravity Crab and I are in a startup in its I would say primordial phase of a startup with Y'all Weird called Decent Gains, and we try to put our actions where our mouth is. So we're about decentralization. So let's use decentralization tools to do this. Kind of like our new layer HODL signal, where they just looked for a decentralized solution to community management and landed on Den. So we're doing that, and we're using Signal for official comms, like internal comms. So we don't have to worry about, for example, let's say we have a really good idea and we're able to use it, to an advantage in competition with other companies. I don't want like China listening in like they do on Zoom being like, oh, let's implement that over here.
That's a good
You know,
idea.
there's a
Let's
lot of
steal that.
espionage and stuff like that. Exactly. Yeah. Which is true. Zoom is completely compromised.
100%. Hasn't there been
yeah.
a couple of times now where the people that have been listening have like popped into meetings by
Yes.
accident?
Yes.
Like,
Oops.
oh shit.
Sorry, I didn't. He's not supposed to
crap,
be
I
here.
tanked the company's stock again.
Yeah, I know. And then apparently, do you know who Vitalik Buterin is? He's like the Ethereum guy, basically.
I should, but I don't.
He apparently he said, oh, they said they'll stop doing it, so it's okay now. They patched that, and I'm just like, wait, what? They said? Are you kidding me?
Like, oh yeah, that's good enough. Like, oh, don't you do that anymore? No. Oh,
but
imagine
so
being on a meeting and having somebody just pop in by accident.
yeah, and speaking of China, that's one of the things with Oxen that I like, where they recently in China, I was reading about they're passing rules against cryptocurrency and any apps that even have content on secondary market sales of cryptocurrency. Basically, they're outlawing private property. They're outlawing, it's the CCP, it's the Chinese Communist Party. So they're literally outlawing, hey, you can't have private dispossession and then be able to sell it without us having our fingers in it, that kind of thing. So that's the new, so that's the new thing rolling out over there. And I'm just thinking about like, well, couple of things actually. Interesting timing, because we have this thing called Lokinet that's powered by the Oxen blockchain, and it's a privacy network. And then we have Den.social, which is a very, I would say, the easiest onboarding experience to like a Web3 social media that I've seen, or that's the goal anyway. There's obviously issues that can be fixed, but so one of these days, I think, and maybe this is coming sooner than later if it keeps going this way, but I would love to see Den.social accessible via Lokinet, and Tor as well, or whatever. And, with the ability of anonymous posting now, you could potentially be able to communicate without revealing like who you are, so that the authorities in China don't come knocking on your door, that kind of thing.
That would be
Because I'm all about human rights and, personal, like, I don't know if liberty is the right word, but something very synonymous. And so I love supporting projects that support that vision of, treating people fairly and good.
Wouldn't it be awesome if
like
people
that
could just anonymously post about like governmental atrocities and things
right.
like that?
So that said, sometimes on the charts, the number goes down, right? And you can see down here, they have, and I'm going to click, hey, how do you feel about Oxen today? Fantastic. Nobody else does. Right?
How you feeling about Oxen, Ryan? Real bad. Oh, that's perfect.
So there's one thing. And so you can see right away, if you didn't know any of what we just talked about this this other startup, this project, then you would think, oh man, look at this, value's been going down. A year ago, it's gone down 72%.
What a hunk of shit.
You know what I mean? Just in the last 2 weeks, it's down by a quarter. You know what I mean? So like it would look like, oh man, this must be shit.
Everything's down by a quarter at least.
You know what I mean? So if you zoom out, this is the last 3 months. You can see way over here. It actually, people must have been really celebrating over here, right? But then since then, this is what they call a bear market, because it's like bearing down on you. Oh my God, it's terrible. But regardless of any of this volatility, right? Something doesn't change. The literal actual technology, the shit that's running around the world with service nodes like we have running, they're still chugging along and not loading the web page.
They're chugging along, all right.
I love it.
Good demo for
I love it
today. Oh my God.
It's not showing up. What do? Control Shift R, clear the cache.
You just broke it all. Does it work?
Oh, I hope the entire Oxen network. That's it. Oxen's down. Website's hacked. Number's going to go down now. See?
You're literally trying to explain how good of a thing this is, and it's over here just like everything is broken.
Look, dude, they're not hosted on a decentralized network. They're hosted on a centralized server somewhere. That the website can be shut off.
Down for me too.
Okay, yeah. See, their website can be shut off. That's what. There you go. Exactly. See, censorship,
The
bro.
government's taking everything over.
This is what I'm talking about. That's what I mean.
Oh, I am for AM is here.
I haven't even been checking the comments. I'm such an asshole.
Comments. And Full Value Dan is here.
Full Value Dan is here. What's up, dude?
That's cool. Howdy.
Hey, there's a link in there if you want to come on up. It's on Den.social in the Den layer.
Very laid back show today. Perfect time for people to just chime in and enjoy the day. Hint, hint, our usual semi co-host I am over here.
All right, let me close that and close that. So there's my points, right? That's all I wanted to say is like, be happy that we have better technology. It's like we have phones for the first time again.
You just became a reptilian for a second.
Me?
Yeah, I just looked at your screen and your camera just flashed a bunch like real quick. So you
look
staticky and crazy.
Autofocus.
Reptilians.
So let's get down here and see what's actually happening on the reply section.
We had some actually fairly good stuff in here today.
So
not that we don't usually.
Following a proposal by Lair in the last DAO vote, I would like us to discuss the internal market. Sooner or later, the internal market will be created. Yes. So one of the proposal items is an internal market. I want to see the ability to just buy with like a debit card or something to buy.
Awesome. I'd love to just be able to like tie my Cash App to this and be able to just be like, boom, I could use some Matter real quick. Let me throw some money at this.
And then also, I remember this too, because we got to talking about marketplaces. And basically, on Den, we'll have a leaderboard. That's another one of the items is a leaderboard for layers and stuff, layer metrics.
What a perfect example.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God.
An auction house would be fantastic. So we need a way to value individual lot, right? Because each individual lot isn't worth the same. Like they're weird. They're like fungible non-fungibles, if that makes sense, which is a paradox, but it's an ERC 1155 instead of a 761. And where's the list? What am I thinking? I'm trying to illustrate something.
Wouldn't it be cool if there were words next to those?
Look, man. Here's the story on that.
You're demonstrating the point.
No, here's the story on that. I haven't gotten the proposal in because I've been extremely depressed
for like
2 weeks, and I owe a proposal. What do you call it? Draft to I am for I am, and I owe a proposal actual for the words to go back next to the buttons to T Swift or Die. And I'm so sorry. I just want to say, like, in all honestly, I've been like, health wise, I've been very, very down and sad, and I just haven't done a lot of things. I'm sorry.
Did you do the same thing I did and just collapse for like a week and a half?
It happens.
Yeah. It's great, isn't it? Funnily enough, I had to have a friend.
Dan's traveling. That makes sense.
A friend of mine actually called me and was like, "Hey, you want to help me move and drive a U-Haul?" I was like, "You know what? That'll probably fix my brain. Sure, let's go." And that took 2 days.
Full Value Dan asks, would there be a feature in the future? I'm sorry. Will there be a future enhancement where a creator can have their own LCP and control the lot for community rewards?
You can do that now, couldn't you?
Well, you can create you can create a layer. Well, you could. Yeah. So you could,
do a business layer essentially.
Let me think about how that would work. I am. How you doing?
Hey,
glad to have you.
He did the call.
Hey guys, how are you guys?
Pretty good. Right before you came on, we're talking about a question from Full Value Dan about where a creator can have their own LCP and control the lot for community rewards. So what you can do right now is you can have a business layer that is completely custom. The difference between an LCP and a business layer is that the LCP layer, once it wins, like our last round of the 3 that just won, firearms, erotica, and photography, Each of those have a hard cap on the lot tokens based on the votes. However many votes win in, that's how many lot there is. And that'll never change. So the difference is with the business layer, there's no cap on the number that you can have. And at any time, you can arbitrarily create new ones for whatever your business purpose is. That's how the World Blockchain Roundtable works, where every week, based on the number of views that a video gets, the people that ask questions and whatever hosts are on that week get that many lot. And then every week, that layer creates more lot, however many that is. They just create them, right? So you could do a sort of LCP yourself. Like you could even run like a contest in the contest layer, and then people can vote on them like we used to back before the LCP was ready. We voted with energy, right? We just made a post with all the proposals. So it would be like one reply per proposal, and then the community would vote with energy. And then after a certain amount of time, like I think we did 24 or 48 hours, after a certain amount of time, you would just have them ranked by energy, and you just pick the winners that way. So you could kind of do that right now, I think. But if you want to talk about that, let's definitely, let's chat about it. We even have DMs on Den now. So if you want to DM me on Den, then we can talk about it. I'm trying to figure out how to turn this off now. There we go. So yeah, what do you think about that? I am. How you doing? You're at the beach today.
Yeah. This is looking out my closet window.
You're still quarantining, huh?
Yeah, quarantine because I haven't finished the honeydew project. No, you know what? We've been doing some remodeling, and it's tough. It's hard. It's as they say, if you can handle a remodel, if your marriage can handle a remodel, then you got a good marriage.
There's truth to that. I've been talking about how I want to resituate the excessive amount of heat and noise generating equipment that I've collected, and to the point where it's not all running right now because it's just I need like an isolated room that has its own AC and all that. Mm-hmm. So that's probably what the room I'm standing in right now is going to become eventually. But we've gone from talking to my wife about what to do. We've gone from turning like the front porch into a room kind of to slicing this room in half and putting like 2 sliding glass doors as a wall so that I can still open it and like service the equipment and stuff. Mm-hmm. But eventually we came to a solution that required us to do nothing and spend no money, which is basically the only problem is I work out of this room too. And I'm, streaming out of this room 3 times a week. Mm-hmm. And so it's noisy and hot and stuff. Well, I have a laptop. I can literally do that from anywhere. You know what I mean? So
right.
Instead of doing all of that, why don't I simply just move where I stream from 3 times a week? Problem solved. Close the door. Solved. Boom.
It's the heat. It's the heat generation, isn't it?
It's the heat generation. Yeah, and I've if you can see it, I've put in through the wall. It's not finished yet. I need to paint around it or whatever, but its own air conditioning unit through the wall there that I got.
That's the thing that dumped water on us.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well,
I'm currently mining Ethereum and Bitcoin, and I'm using that sea breeze to keep me cool right now. Yeah, in my master bedroom closet. So, this is the view out the window
of the master bedroom closet.
Gotcha. That's right. Yeah.
You know what I want to do, man? We live in North Florida, and there's a ton of springs and rivers and stuff through here. I want to find a piece of property that has a natural spring, and then just plug it with a turbine. And then, all that water pushing out, you still get the water, you can still have a spring, but it goes through a turbine first and then creates power.
With as crazy as High Springs is about its springs, they would crucify you.
But Columbia County doesn't give a shit about anything.
There's so many private springs out there.
Columbia and Gilchrist County, bro, they don't care.
We had one, so growing up in High Springs, we had this one out in the woods. Essentially, you could meander out into the forest, and there was this giant hole in the ground that led to a little private spring, and we tied a rope off to a tree, and we just jumped down into it. I'm surprised we didn't die, now that I think about it, because we didn't test it to see if it was like suction-y or anything. We just tied a rope off to a tree and jumped in one day.
What about gators?
We don't give a shit about them. We'll fight them.
There's gators everywhere.
I know, man. I'm telling you, that's my biggest fear in life. And when I have a dream of a gator, oh my gosh, it wakes me up.
I drunkenly was at a 4th of July party, and we were out on the river, and there was a small gator out in the water, and I drunkenly chased it, and it ran away.
So this is when you read Florida Man stories.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, like drunk American on the 4th of July chases alligator into pond.
I guarantee you that's a real Florida Man story if we look it up. Have you ever done the thing where you looked up your birth date and then Florida Man, and you'll find like a story? Like I think mine is a guy. It says, "Man with no arms and no legs commits armed robbery."
Armed? Come on!
I swear to God. No, with gators, genuinely, I remember.
You're holding a knife with his teeth?
I hope so. I remember in school. And I've asked a bunch of people about this before who have been through school in Florida and other states. In school, they taught us how to escape snakes, and they taught us how to escape a gator attack. Like they taught us the serpentine thing, and that they can't run fast on land, and that if you get out of the water, you got a way better chance at living. Yeah. And that if it has a pointy little arrowhead-shaped head, then it's a snake that will make you die really fast. And you shouldn't mess with it.
We used to learn rhymes about coral snakes, like red on black, friend of Jack, whatever. But really, in the end, it's like if it's multicolored rainbow snake, get the fuck away.
No,
like if you misremember, what if you misremember what is it? Red on yellow, kill a fellow.
Kill a fellow, yeah. If it's red and yellow, just don't fuck with it. It's like
red on black, break your back.
Friend of Jack. Friend of Jack is red on black. It's red on black, friend of Jack, red on yellow. Kill a fellow. Kill a fellow. That's what it is. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But then I'm investigating the snake, and I got to get a closer look, and I'm like, okay, wait, this and that. I just don't.
Snakes aren't that fast. Now,
anyway,
if you
I don't like snakes. I do like snakes, but not in the wild.
You had a snake.
But not in the wild. They're scary to me.
When you're out in the woods in Florida, there is at least 100% chance that you're going to see a rattlesnake at some point. And they are some big bastards. Like those are the only thing. I think those are the only thing in the state that I'm genuinely terrified of running across.
Now that I think about it, it isn't all snakes, because black snakes, like rat snakes, green snakes, like in the garden snakes, stuff like that, those don't bother me really.
You just grab them and throw them if they get in your way.
I don't know about that, but we've got one called Charles, and I'm sure it's not the same one, but every year there's a black snake out in the yard. There's always just one.
Probably is the same snake. They tend to have like nice little territories that they live in, and they hibernate.
Now, the ones I'm afraid of, rattlesnakes, like you said, moccasins are terrifying.
Oh my God, I know. They're so fast.
Yeah.
They're so fast in the water. Oh my God.
If anyone's ever traveling along I-95 on the east coast of the USA, and they are crossing from North to South Carolina, there is a ridiculous stop called South of the Border. And you'll know it when you see it. You can't miss it. There's
big sombrero.
For 100 miles both directions, there's billboards saying, like, here it comes.
Here it comes. South of the border.
But they actually have a massive collection of poisonous snakes and alligators and crocodiles and what do you call them? Caiman? The other one?
Caiman,
yeah.
Caiman. Mm-hmm.
They've got a big indoor reptile zoo, and it's like $20 to go in there, and it's a bunch of confined. It's like old, how like circuses used to be. They just like have everything in a cage and like check it out.
Oh God!
It's that. Today.
The reptile lagoon.
And so that's the first time I saw live water moccasins up front and stuff. Like, holy crap. Look, I got to look up water moccasins now, man.
Aren't they? I think they're also
spooky, man.
How do you spell moccasin? Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they're also, aren't copperheads also the same thing?
I think
copperhead, rattlesnakes are basically the same.
Well, copperheads are water moccasins. Rattlesnakes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right. That's
I love
right.
the arrow.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Look at that scary bastard.
Yeah, but like this is what they have, right? Big these things, just right there, and it's got this like, I don't know. It just looks like an armored face that wants to kill you.
Viper. So like anything that's got that face like that is called a pit viper. and they're like they have fangs that are hooked forward, and they'll fuck you up, for lack of better words.
Yeah. Oof. Rough, man. Rough.
I came face to face with twice in my life with rattlesnakes. Growing up, my sister, she lived in a different place than me, and she had this like big outdoor like play thing, and I climbed. It was out in the woods, so I climbed up the slide, and like face to face was this rattlesnake, and he like bowed up and was pissed off, and her dad went out and just blew it away. The other time I was at my mother-in-law's house, and I had to do what you do when you're out in the woods doing yard work. I had to take a leak. So I went over to the side of her house and started doing my thing, and I looked down, and I was straight up peeing on a snake, and he was really not happy about it, and he just like kind of got confused and slithered away.
Wow.
I'm surprised I didn't end up dead from that one. Did you just look up south of the border and just not even mention anything?
We don't have to. I just wanted to show pictures of it.
They have bad tacos there.
That was an Easter egg for anyone who's watching but not listening.
Oh shoot. You know what? I got to tell you another quick story during this whole remodeling thing. So I've moved my office. We have 2 sheds on our property, right? And I have like a 12 by 12 sheds, well insulated and that kind of thing. And I literally moved my office into the shed. I moved all the tools out, the lawnmower, all that stuff out. And I'm kind of loving it. It's got pegboard all over the place. I hung up my whiteboards.
That's awesome.
I got
that's what I should do in here is pegboard. I got so much bullshit to organize.
And then I installed an AC unit, and it was already well insulated. And I'm kind of liking it. It's like my man shed with my
that's cool.
My crypto.
A disconnected room like that is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
My uncle used to have an office that was set up that way. It was just a little shed out in his back porch. He built a desk out of a door and some filing cabinets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I used to work with a guy who had a recording studio in one of those, like you see the pre-built in the like Lowe's or Home Depot parking lots where they put them up, pre-built sheds. He took one of those, and then decked it out on the inside with a bunch of like noise isolation, cancellation stuff, and has a record just in his backyard, a recording studio out there. And then he put a little porch on the front, a little pole barn kind of thing. And I was like, damn, that's pretty legit. Yeah,
that sounds pretty awesome. Good. I've seen lately where people are, because the housing market is so freaking bad, people are buying large versions of those sheds and like sticking them on a property that a friend of theirs owns or a family member owns and insulating it and turning it into a little house to live in. And Jackie and I were looking at that lately like, I already live in a really tiny apartment. I can live in a shed.
It's not a bad idea. I mean, you get a yard and stuff.
Seriously. And you get a yard. If it's somebody else's property, hopefully they'll mow it. It's great.
Yeah, I knew somebody who lived in a little like a shed like that. I knew somebody who lived in a freaking water tower, actually.
Excuse me?
Do you remember Jim?
Yeah.
GM? Yeah. He went to Key West and didn't have any place to live yet, but he had a lot of friends. So he was like, I'll figure it out. And so he asked around, and then like one of the places, the Blue Lagoon Bar, has like a water tower that is in the backyard. And they were like, well, you got the tower.
You could live in the tower? Did he have to climb a ladder up to this thing?
I guess. I mean, it wasn't it wasn't like a big, huge tower. It was more of an. Damn it! Do we have to look this up?
I need to see this thing because Jim is an interesting character through and through.
I think it was called Blue Lagoon, Key West.
Jim lives in one of the most interesting houses I've ever seen in my life.
No, it's not that. What if I just put in water tower? Water tower. Dum. No, it's not. It must be. Maybe it's not Lagoon. Blue something.
Now, you lived in a water tower.
No, it ain't that. It's a restaurant and bar. Okay, more keywords. Restaurant.
I love that we could just drive down to that.
Oh, here we go. What's this? Not the Green Parrot. The Green Parrot's dope. The original sign from the Green Parrot, I bought it from Jim, and it's in his house because I sold it back to his brother. Who is the one who actually painted it, I think, or painted the new sign.
That's a place I haven't gotten to yet, is Key West.
Yeah.
Definitely should. What's left of it, unfortunately, at the moment.
Oh, Blue Heaven. It's
Oh,
Blue
that
Heaven.
makes so much more sense. What a cool building.
Yeah.
Blue Heaven. Blue Heaven.
I think you can probably get rid of some of your
Key
keywords
West.
there. I thought you were going to type keywords.
We're gonna find it. There it is. Boom. See
We're gonna
that?
find his house. We're gonna find his former residence. Is that the tower
It's
right
on
there?
top of the bar. Yeah.
That is awesome.
Oh, that's cool.
That is the most
Isn't that
gym
super cool?
location I've ever seen in my life.
Talk about a bachelor pad.
Yeah. Oh
I
man.
wish we had pictures of like the yard and everything. Jim lives in this house that looks like it's straight out of Fallout.
Mhm.
Like it is a post-nuclear role-playing home, 110%. Like there is, it's so hard to describe. Like when something breaks, it's just repaired with random items, but tastefully.
Yeah. Just whatever's around.
Like I think there's like a section where like a wall moves and then you can like have a display that used to be a fireplace. You had some computers in there or something.
Well, he needed more room in the kitchen, so he cut a hole in the wall to stick the refrigerator through it, and then on the other side, he just put bricks back there to hold it up, and it's perfect. And then sealed around it with that spray foam, the expanding spray foam.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's great.
It looks great. And also there's like it's just like a fridge in the wall. It's pretty neat.
It actually looks dope. It's a wall fridge. Yeah.
Did you have to disconnect like the water or something to run the water? It was something about the sink.
Oh, I have no. I don't know. I lived there so the story about that is interesting. Actually, I lived there for a couple of years, or a year and a half or something. Because not in Key West. This was a different place. It's the house that Gravity Crab's describing.
Okay.
So I lived there for a while. While Jim was in this, what is on the screen, I was living in his house. I had just gotten out of the Navy, and he needed someone to live in his house while he was gone, and it was just good timing for me because I didn't know what the hell I was doing yet. So his neighbor, the big problem though was his neighbor Jim, who famously has a song named after him.
What's your fucking problem, Bill?
He had this thing where like he wanted to. Like, here's the deal. The house, if it wasn't occupied, the city could condemn it. But because it was continuously occupied, it could not be condemned, right? So if anyone were to leave for months, he could go to the city and get it condemned. And then he knew that Jim didn't have the money to bring it back up to code to repair everything. So he would be forced to sell cheap because it was condemned. And then the neighbor could buy it, bulldoze it, and then extend his yard into that yard and have a bigger yard. That was the plan, right? So the neighbor
ruined it.
Yeah. So he's like giving like death threats to Jim. The cops are there all the time. And so I come home from the Navy, and at this point, I'm still like in shape and healthy and stuff, basically. And so I'm like, I don't give a shit about a bad neighbor. I got this, So I paid Jim rent and moved in. Jim took off, and then a year and a half later, Jim moved back because Jim had sold. Bill, the neighbor, had sold his house instead and left.
Even the street view, I looked up the street view out of curiosity. Even the street view doesn't do the house justice because of all the palm trees.
Yeah.
But
Well, don't show that. I don't want to dox Jim, so don't.
No,
show
I
that.
wouldn't actually do that. I was actually just looking up for my own thoughts there because I was wondering if it was like a cool spot. But
Cool.
Yeah. So I saved his house, and then he came home. It was great. It took a year and a half or 2 years, but it was crazy. The cops are there all the time. He would call in noise complaints. Like a friend of mine was on the front porch listening to music on his phone. Cops come up and is like, "You listening to music up here?" I'm like, yeah, on my phone. What are you talking about?
What's happening? Why are you mad?
Always harassment,
Jesus.
Yeah. What's your problem, Bill?
City ordinance says you can only surpass 2 decibels.
Yeah, right. Yeah, in our county they have it's written. The law is written weird. I know the guy who wrote it too, and the way it's written is like, if it's clearly audible beyond a certain number of feet, then it's a noise violation, unless it's a sporting event, right? And it just says sporting event. So I'm just thinking, can I put up a ping pong table and we're good? Like, what do we?
There you go. There
You
you
know
go.
what I mean? Like, what does that mean?
And
Sporting
post a
event.
sign, ping pong tournament,
Yeah, exactly.
daily.
Like,
Every day, daily ping pong tournament.
does that mean that we can listen to like the TV really loud for sports? Because you could find the dumbest sport possible.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's funny. Hey, so I have been absent from Den for about 4 days.
Cool. Welcome
And-
back.
Yeah, and I like what there was a vote. I don't know. I didn't put any lot to get into what
Mhm.
had passed and all that.
Yep.
But what I had done last month is I just piled a bunch of lot in a whole all the way through 1 through 20, so that I would get some kind of ownership.
Yep.
Unless something new popped in.
I've got mine spread out pretty well too.
So what I'm going to do is when this ends, I'm going to jump on and see what I own and what I don't own, and then I should own more of this one.
Mhm.
So what passed again? I know the exotic one, firearms,
and photography.
and photography. Okay.
So we just need an erotic photo of someone holding a firearm, and you can cross post it to all three.
Well, I mean, no, you can't cross post erotic photos to other places. Don't
Oh,
tell
actually,
people they can do that.
Well, yeah, don't necessarily do that. No, but in some cases it can be like if I can see an erotic photo not being necessarily a nude photo, for example.
Right.
And you know what I mean? And things like that. And then the tags work across all of Den. And now that I'm talking about it, the way this is implemented is that every time you post in that layer, Den will automatically add the not safe for work tag to the post, every single post. Okay. Now the community, the poster can remove it, right? If you're posting something where you're like, nope, this is actually not, but by default, it's not safe for work across the board.
Even a reply to a posting is automatically tagged.
I will have to double check that.
Maybe it's automatically tagged if it's a reply with an image.
With an image, yeah, that'd be a good idea.
It might be replies also, but maybe not.
Well, it would keep it contained. It certainly keeps it contained.
Because here's the reason I would want that is because if you follow a denizen, you will see everywhere they post, even if you're not subscribed to that layer. So we got to make sure that doesn't carry over into
there should be like a tick that says except for these layers.
I hadn't thought about that. Let's make sure that case is covered though. That's a good point. But yeah, so then when something is tagged with not safe for work, it'll blur out the photos but not the words, right? Gotcha. So even if it was auto tagged for replies, it wouldn't blur out the words.
And then I was listening to the update on Thursday. Is it update the Thursday morning update, or is that Tuesday morning? Tuesday morning update.
Oh yeah, yesterday.
Yeah. And I got through about half of it, and then I got a phone call and I didn't get back to it. But basically, there's something about 18-year-old someone you have to.
Oh yeah. So the way that works is if you let me think. How do I explain this? To subscribe to it, you have to have you get a pop-up and acknowledge that you are over 18, and you have to so you acknowledge that before you're able to subscribe to it. And then there's a couple of other things too, where if you're not subscribed, it just won't show up for you, or it won't let you go in there, that kind of thing. Like if you click on a piece of content that links over into the layer, for example, that you get presented or challenged for your age, right? And if you are subscribed, then it can be assumed that you have, like, the only way that you can get subscribed is to acknowledge and that challenge. So then once you're subscribed, you can go in there and it's fine.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Cool. So I've got kind of a thought.
Yeah. Go ahead.
With okay. Now if you saw something to do with what he just said, go with that, because mine's different.
Mm-hmm.
I was just going to say, I'm 17 and a half, but I have a 25-year-old, so I'm going to have to wait 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
Yep,
my
gotta wait.
God.
Don't
So-
go in there.
Someone's doing the math out there right now, listening to
Like,
it.
wait a
Oh,
minute,
wait,
that's not
wait,
how that
wait,
works.
wait.
So here's a concern that I have.
Okay.
With the way that layers are set up, we have layer owners, right? So we've
Yes.
got a whole group of people that are an owner of this layer. Let's say some scummy person from another part of the internet.
Don't give anybody any ideas.
Yeah, well, it's going to happen anyways. So just here we go. Some scummy person from the other part of the internet sees Den and goes, "Oh, this is a relatively unpoliced area at the moment. I can upload my entire massive terabytes of kitty."
Whatever it is, let's not go there.
It needs
But
to
I
be
understand what you're
talked
saying.
about.
Let's talk about it without describing it, though. I know what you're talking about. I don't like talking
Why?
about. I don't
Yeah,
like
nobody
talking. It
does
makes me
either.
uncomfortable.
Yeah, it makes me uncomfortable too. But welcome
Let's
to the
talk about
world.
it then.
So,
Okay.
like, somebody decides, hey, I've got a whole mountain of illicit material of underage people, and I decide, oh, look at this unpoliced place. And they upload a shitload of it, right? And then something happens, and we get
I wouldn't.
security problem.
But you're defining it as unpoliced, and I think with that last implementation that we just did with the smart contracts, I wouldn't define DIN as unpoliced.
No, not unpoliced. Okay, unpoliced is probably not the best term for it. I mean,
Well, we have
it is
here.
policed by the community.
Let me explain something real quick. We do have some things in place already that mitigate the ability to attack. We do have to use them more as a community, and this is something that we need to have a meeting about. Actually, about the eroticism layer before it goes up. I want to find out who's willing to actively engage and manage that layer like it should be, like any community should be organized if it's big enough. And we have to really use the reputation features. So, for example, if you there's two reputations that every denizen has, right? And one of those reputations is your overall site-wide DIN reputation. And then the other one is per layer. Each individual layer, your account has a reputation as well. So as a community, you have to decide how high someone's reputation needs to be before they're allowed to do certain activities and certain actions. So in this case, you could say, you're not allowed to post images or videos ever. You're not allowed to vote ever, right? Until your layer reputation is 4 stars or something like that. So that would mean somebody would have to really, really spend a lot of time creating a, false identity of behavior that is good to get the ability to even access those features.
Let's say somebody does that, or somebody that's already a denizen.
Okay, I just wanted to paint that picture a little bit to make it, because it's not like a big deluge of anybody can do anything they want.
My term of unpoliced, definitely not the best term. I'll concede to
so
that.
there's already barriers in place with reputations. Got it.
So let's say we have a denizen on this platform already that has a whole separate life that we don't know about. Okay, so that does their own little thing on the side, just like anybody that looks at weird stuff would probably do. What happens to the layer owners if a mountain of illegal material is uploaded to that layer and the feds grab it, or the feds shut the layer down?
No, the feds wouldn't have to. We would.
I know they wouldn't have to, but I'm
no. The community would. The community would
But if that
put
fails,
they would put in a support ticket. We would remove it from DIN.
I know
it's violating terms of service. We have terms of service. You can't do that shit on DIN. It goes away. You can do that shit on Facebook. You can do that shit on Twitter. You can do that shit on Instagram. You know what I mean? But the point is, it has to be taken down.
It's all right. Continue. We can move on.
And I think that's it. That's the end of it. You know what I mean? Like, DIN isn't like a panacea for censorship. It's not like this like no holds bar.
I'm not saying it is. I'm saying what happens to let's say all of that fails.
The account goes away. The person's tokens in their account, if they brought any into the we would have a DAO vote on what to do with the funds that are in that person's account. It's happened in the past where somebody has gotten taken off of DIN because of death threats, And because of literally, like, you violated terms of service, death threats are not allowed. We don't do that shit here. The person's account was disabled. The person's funds, the matter that they had purchased from Uniswap and brought into Den from outside, was returned back to them. And any matter that was generated by that account, earnings that came from Den internally, not nothing of their own, right? That was returned. But anything internally was, if I remember, it was either distributed into the general mining, like, for a period, or maybe it was distributed, added on top of the like trending pool. But in some way that went back to the community. So we do have processes in place to address that, right? But you can't stop evil people from doing damage. And so, like, I don't know, it could be there's something that we have discussed that I think is very interesting. It hasn't been talked about. Really, maybe we can bring it up on DenDAO meeting on Thursday if we want to, but if we decide we need to, we can do elections where each individual layer is its own DAO anyway, right? So each layer, if we had a problem like that, to where we had raids, let's say we get raided by evil, we can hold elections where each layer can elect a willing denizen who can serve as that layer's sort of moderator, right? Because right now it's a decentralized effort for everything you want to do. Even tagging and censoring and the not safe for work tab, and all of that is a decentralized effort where every individual denizen needs to participate in that, which can make it a slow process. So in cases like this, where you need a stopgap, where it's like, okay, we need to elect people who then maybe gain their own reputation score based on their performance, on-chain metrics. And they can be, de-elected or whatever. We can design that later. But the idea would be, there would be a time frame, maybe. I'm not saying this is happening. This is just a thought experiment. There could be a time frame where all layers are required to elect, like, an official, basically, who is willing to look at content that has been red flagged. And a red flag would immediately, like, no consensus, it would kick it to the moderator for review, right?
I was listening, if I could interrupt real quick.
Yeah.
I was listening to a gentleman who worked for a company. I think it was on YouTube, and that was this company was hired by, I think, Facebook.
Yes.
To look at all that ugliness out there.
I'm familiar with those companies, yeah.
Yeah, and oh my gosh, this is not a job that I would ever want.
Right. It would need to be somebody who was willing to objectively evaluate that material. Mm-hmm. Now, realistically,
I don't think we'd have to get to that point. I
don't think so either. Yeah, I don't think so. But it's
will.
important. It's important to go ahead and have the thought experiment about, like, what if, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So, like, you could even do it to where, if your layer does not elect somebody within 2 weeks, then it gets disabled, and you can only do governance actions until you elect someone. That kind of thing. Like, we could do things. We can do anything. It's software. You can write whatever you need to write into it. Mm-hmm. So, like, when problems arise, that's, really it's an engineering problem. It's a social problem. It's a social engineering problem, I guess.
On the same kind of vein, how does Dragon Chain look at the users that are signing up? So if you had a bad actor, how would you know? Would they be able to determine if this bad actor just duplicated themselves with a different ID?
In some
other
cases,
than,
yes.
I guess there's IP address, I guess.
Well, Den does have some mitigating features that I won't describe on the back end. Okay. That do detect things like puppet accounts and things like that decently well.
What are puppet accounts?
Oh, like, we had so early on in Den, we had some issues where people were violating terms of service by creating multiple accounts to cheat the consensus system. And so we had to, install some changes to the way that the consensus that the rewards worked, and change, and we added some custom tooling detection systems for things like patterns that we discovered. So the cool thing about everything being on chain and anonymous at the same time is that nobody's privacy is violated, but you get to see everything and it's all timestamped. And so you can see literally like, okay, there's data that has a certain pattern to it that's associated with this kind of activity. And then you can tool to that to detect it, which is pretty cool. So yeah, anyway, cool. there's going to be, the bigger any community becomes, the more the wider variety of personalities that exist. So with Den, I kind of align with Elon Musk's view on freedom of speech, which is like within the law. And he even goes so far to talk about how, if you have additional restrictions outside the law, in place by Twitter and things like that, really, like, the laws exist because the society deems them important enough to write them for themselves. And if there isn't a law, then society has not deemed that shouldn't be. You know what I mean? So he doesn't want to add restrictions outside of the law, but he also doesn't want to allow, on the other side of that, he doesn't want to allow things that are clearly illegal. So
gotcha.
Honestly,
that's kind of where I am.
We're gonna, at least in my own thoughts and opinion on this one here, with the fact that not safe for work and 18+ layers will probably become more common at this point because we have one, so other people can vote on it. There's a thing, and hold on,
okay.
There's going to need to be some kind of a human interaction there, like with the voting on a person to be a moderator or somebody who doesn't mind seeing some terrible shit, who can sit there and say, like,
sure,
yeah, I can do that.
Everything is a human action on Den.
Well, I mean, at some point, there's going to need to be a human moderator that's not the community. And I don't mean that in like, I mean, like with electing a moderator for a certain thing. Like that's going to have to happen.
Yeah, no, we've talked about, that's kind of what I was describing. And when we talked about that,
I know, but
we were talking about how, and you talk about outside the community, I agree with that. You should not have to be a lot holder in that community to be elected as their moderator, right?
Right. But
because I don't think there's going to be a lot of people who want that job, first of all.
Yeah.
Right. Well, we say that it's like, it's not going to, we don't think it'll get that far. It's the nature of the internet. Anytime that there's porn involved, it's going to need a human.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That wasn't
the nature of the human frailties.
That wasn't, I mean, I don't think that was my point at all. My only point was, I feel confident that we have the tools to deal with that, is all that I'm saying.
I don't think anybody has good tools built in place to deal with people uploading horribly illegal material to a.
I wouldn't use the word good. I wouldn't use the word good, but we've got the ability to mitigate that severely, which I think is important.
Well, my final thoughts on it so we can move on with it is just, it's a new platform. People are going to figure out a way to mass upload stuff. It's just something that concerns me, and it concerns me for the people that technically own that layer from a legality standpoint.
Well, it would be that user is, that denizen or that account is responsible for their own content. It's all
right, I know,
everything is, you can prove that nobody was involved except for this one account. You know what I mean? That's the nature of on-chain proof. Well, you can show that none of the lot holders had shit to do with that.
Gotcha.
And they're not, that kind of thing.
I gather that. I gather that, but we also live in a world where we have governmental entities that don't give a shit about that, and they're just
I'm no lawyer, but yes, we live in a litigious society, so there's all kinds of lawsuits.
Yeah, it's going to be however they see it.
Right, and so, the typical lawsuit is just like a machine gun. Let's just fire the lawsuit and try to hit everybody. But it's still, the beautiful part is you have on-chain analysis that's going to be able to determine the origin of the post, and I think maybe the terms and services are going to keep the liability on the poster and not the layer owners or the Den.DAO.
Right.
Now, now
if those
in
entities pay attention to that.
the initial case, the government or whomever would name the Den.DAO, the layer, owners and everyone.
Yep.
But I think that would quickly shake out to, leaving those people, dropping the suit against those people and going specifically to.
Yeah,
that would be good. I mean, my thought is, like, if I own a web server right now, like, let's say I literally host a website from my house and somebody uploads a mountain of stuff to it, and then I'm liable for it because I'm hosting it. So, like, does it apply in the same way as a layer owner?
How are you going to do that?
You're centralized.
Yeah, and how are you going to do that on Den? How are you going to mass upload anything on Den? You can post 4 pictures and that's it.
Well, no,
you know what I mean?
You'd need a lot of MTR. which then again, because it's Ethereum and it's blockchain, it has an audit trail.
And to get it into Den, you have to sign for your account on Ethereum to claim it on Den, to be able to transfer it in, to attach it to what do you call it? Yeah, Claim Wallet. So you're signing, your Den account is signing your Ethereum wallet address. So who that belongs to. Mm-hmm. Like, we don't know who it is, but we know which denizen it is, which account it is, that kind of thing. And I don't think we'll get there. I hope we don't. Maybe we will, but I don't think we'll ever get to the point where there has to be a legal action to, like, shut down a layer that's allowing content. That's going to be like a per user, like like it's not going to be. It isn't going to be like
So you couldn't see a governmental entity using that as a way to shut something else down?
Well, no. What I'm saying is, like,
question.
I don't think that the community on Den would allow that to exist for long enough for there to ever need to be any outside action to shut it down.
Okay, I'm thinking way outside of the box here, so we're good.
Here's a different scenario. What if there was a whistleblower within the government that was posting stuff that the government didn't like?
Well, that's a different story.
Oh, they just come into our house and shoot us in the face, and
that
the end of it.
that would be decided by literally Den.DAO.
That would be awesome.
It would be a vote.
If somebody used Den as like a government whistleblow, I'll take the legal fallout from that. That sounds awesome.
I know, and
it would be.
Let's create that layer.
Put Den in the
Whistleblowers layer.
Whistleblowers layer.
Oh, I'm on board with that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is like, it would be. It's a DAO. We would vote on it. If it came up and it was like, if it didn't violate the law, and it was some sort of, like, I don't know. It depends. It specifically depends on the case. But if it came down to it, I think it would be a Den.DAO vote. And right now, knowing the personalities who would be voting, I think it would be allowed. But I don't know that for sure. But that's my inclination.
Quick question: how fast could a Den.DAO vote happen? That would be.
They
would have enough. Like, in other words, could there be like, hey, we need to have an emergency actions here. We need to do a Den.DAO vote and make a determination within 24 or 48 hours or something like that. Is that possible?
Yes. So we've talked about that already, about adding something that. So all these features that are being added, it's kind of getting like a first pass on every one of them. I don't know if you've noticed that or not. There's a vision for it, and then there's the first pass to set up the infrastructure to get there. And in the interest of time and getting more important features and stuff like that, we'll do like a first pass and then move on to a different feature. So with the ability to vote, right now it times out after 1 week. We've talked about, like, sometimes if you have something more urgent, I think StickyDAO had an issue where they needed to vote on something, and it just, like, not everyone participated enough to get it to push it over like the 51% threshold to auto resolve. And so it sat there for a week until it resolved. So we need to eventually to have a configurable time delay on your GIs, on your governance issues. So you can say, like, this one's urgent, so it's going to be 24 hours or 1 hour. Fuck, I don't know.
Yeah.
So specifically with Den.DAO, and I recommend every layer who wants to take this on, I recommend all of you have, like, we already have layer chat, right? But sometimes it's useful to all, like, hey, does everybody use Signal, for example, or does everybody use maybe not Signal, but Session, or like, whatever. Have like a little chat room or something where you guys talk, or have a meeting every now and then on the layer itself in the chat room. But get together and talk about how you want to run the layer, even like the description and how to greet, how to like how to vote on stuff, so that we can how we set this reputation settings, how we set all the features that haven't really been explored that much yet. But anyway, in the case of Den.DAO, we have a line of communication where like if there's something big that happens, somebody will get woke up. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I know one of us even has a satellite phone in case we're out of like reception and stuff like that.
If something happens. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So like, yeah, there's Den.DAO can react if we have to. I think that's.
Are you the one with the satellite phone?
I'm not the one. I'm not the one. Okay. No.
I could just see you like all of a sudden at 2 a.m. getting this like bling bling noise, and it's your satellite phone buried under your desk. So we gotta shut it down. Pull the plug.
Yeah. So like, I don't want to make it. Yeah, it's not. I don't think the community will allow that. We have a really good community. We have really good personalities. I Am For I Am is here. Really good example.
I'm not doubting our community.
You are doubting the community. No. Listen, I want you to understand. Listen, listen. The only reason that would happen on Den is if the community allowed it.
Or
the end. Well, they would be the community then, wouldn't they? You know what I mean? So I don't know what else to say.
Moving swiftly on.
Well, no, I find it important to end with this. The description of this layer that we're like had to like bring up new tooling in the 18 plus and like the questions around, what's that going to be and stuff like that. I would recommend reading the description. It's actually written pretty well. And it does point out like this is not a place for you to put stuff like that, right? It's not the right space for hard porn. I'm sure that'll be created in the future, right? This is supposed to be like, it doesn't
erotic
even have
art.
Yeah,
is it like erotic art.
Usually,
it would include that. It would include that. I just want you to understand that we're not installing like a scat layer or something,
usually
dude.
When I go to upload a bunch of illegal material, I read the rules first and care about them.
Well, that's why I'm saying lot holders have a responsibility as community owners. Mm-hmm. You have to vote. Yeah, they do, but we are a global. There's different time zones. They exist. Mm-hmm. Let's move on. We've talked about this for like 20 minutes right now.
We're good at this point. My concerns have been mildly answered.
Good. And we can talk about it more for sure. I just don't want to take up all the time on that. Yeah. It's a really good conversation, and it's an important one to have.
For the show for even bringing it up, guarantee.
Yeah.
What other questions did you have for the pre-show?
Yeah. So I was the rest of the answer that I was going to give to who was this that I was talking to? Oh, Alexons. Was that and we talked about it here, and you can read the thread. But basically, if you want to sell the lot swap on Den, it'll be set up to where you can pick an ROI, basically, so you pick like what you want to, when you're swapping it for matter, you can measure how much matter each individual lot generates daily just by holding it, right? It's like a certain percentage of the mining that happens in the layer that it corresponds to. So using that, we can calculate an ROI based on the matter emissions historically. Right. So that'll be the initial. We came up with basically that's like a recommended. What did Alexon say? Like an MSRP or something, right? And then maybe if you want to price it higher and lower, I guess you could just price it at a different ROI. But basically, it's cool because it's not speculating on the value of a token. It's not speculating on like, oh, this is JPEG NFT thing. It's actually like, no, legitimately, here's the actual projected ROI based on what it's been doing. So that's something that we'll do, and we kind of need the leaderboard before we can do that, because we got to do all those metrics anyway, So we might want to create the leaderboard before we do the swaps.
Probably a good spot to start.
And let's see what else we've got. There's some conversation about the eroticism layer. A lot of people are excited about that, so we'll see what happens. I wonder if it's going to be OG, OC. Is this all going to be original content?
Hold on, go back up.
Have you seen this?
The way it killed me that.
This, yeah, I know. This is like the whole game.
Oh my god! As somebody who has played Breath of the Wild quite a bit, I spent a lot of time ignoring Zelda for Korra. I'll be walking around in town, so like a Depot Park, for instance, has this little section in it where there's like a circle of rocks, and I'm over here like, man, if I throw a rock in the middle of that, a Korok's jumping out.
By the way, how's my sound? Now I'm in this shed. I got an AC unit.
It's great.
Hey,
it's really great. Yeah, I think it's fantastic.
You can hear us over the waves rolling in.
Yeah. Wait till I give you the hurricane picture.
Oh god. It's gonna be a tornado in the background.
How's my sound, guys?
Like, he sounds like he's coming in loud and clear from the side of the tornado in Chicago.
The water's already into my closet.
Oh my god, growing up in Florida, we darn sure saw a lot of hurricanes and water.
You know, as a kid, I used to live in Cocoa Beach.
Oh, good times. I'm sure that was probably a fun time for storms.
Cocoa Beach is cool.
This is our whole comment section right now, by the way.
Yeah, I just had to go back up. I forgot I didn't tip out Alxons, so I wanted to do that. And Passport Gang, I'm going to tip you out too because I agree with that. Thanks for the comment. Confirm. Debating bad ideas. Oh, let me go back to where I was, Den. Thank you. Debating bad ideas exposes them better than banning. I agree with that. Letting people show, let your freak flag fly. If it's a bad idea, you will, you'll know.
Yeah, real quick.
Yeah, you'll find out if it's not a good idea because people will tell you. Earth Dragon, good morning. Anon layer, let's talk. Is it a layer or a feature? It is a feature. So the feature is, this is what won the last round after the smart tags and smart contract integration.
Anonymous posting?
Yeah, anonymous posting. It is a feature for all layers. And what you're going to be able to do is, as a layer, you can, by default, you will probably, I think we're not going to have anonymous posting by default, but you can have, the idea right now is to have a three-way switch. So where you can have, you either don't allow anonymous posting, you do allow anonymous posting, or you only allow anonymous posting. So this would be like, for example, Gravity Crab's whistleblower layer, right? Could potentially enforce anonymous posts.
Whistleblower
and
needs anonymous posts.
Yeah. So the interesting thing about that is that because the post is anonymous, the way that mining works on Den is you're competing with your post against everybody else's posts based on energy and consensus, and you get rewarded based on that. But because it's anonymous posts, who do you reward? It's anonymous, right? So what would happen is whatever rewards would typically go to the post of the anonymous denizen would instead go to all the lot holders of that layer. So if you had a whistleblower layer with enforced anonymous posts, then it's interesting because instead of like 5 or 7 or 10% or whatever the number is of the matter that's mined going to the lot holders, you would then potentially get 100% of all the matter mined in that layer being distributed to the lot token holders. And so those tokens on the leaderboard would look interesting because the emissions would be, depending on the, activity in the layer, the emissions, well, per post, you get all of the matter going to the lot holders. So it brings in some more interesting angles on that kind of thing. So, and that's why, that's an incentive for the layer holders to allow anonymous posts, is that any matter that it mines goes to them, goes to the owners.
What would it cost me to just buy a whistleblower layer?
I think you can pay in matter or in ether. Last time I looked, I think it was 1 ether or 80% of that in matter. You get like a 20% discount for paying in matter or something like that. It was, I have to look up specifics. But I mean, number go down recently, so maybe that's cheap.
I'm literally
You know what I mean? So like that's silver lining.
How bad do I want a whistleblower's lair?
Can you imagine if there was a whistleblower's lair and something huge was posted in there? You know, like I don't know.
Oh man. Yeah.
And then next thing you know, ABC, NBC, Fox, everyone seeing is coming over here like, according to our sources on Den.social.
Over here doing like an emergency 1 o'clock in the morning coffee show, being like, "Oh my god, the news won't shut up."
Satellite phone went off.
It's like, open my door, get out of here, ABC. I got shit to do.
Literally writing my shit to do list.
Oh my god.
Someone going by the name Julian Assange Dos.
Satoshi has entered the chat. Anyways.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
We just tracked Satoshi Nakamoto's movement of the blockchain of his initial coins. It appears that he's purchased some MTR. We're researching what this MTR is all about.
Yeah, I'm sure Satoshi has an Ethereum wallet that he signed on. They signed on Den. Yeah. All right. So let's see. Anon, yeah. So that's going to be a feature for everybody.
Freaking awesome.
How soon is that going to happen?
Oh, I don't think it's going to be very difficult. There has been one. So we have an internal meeting every week, and then at the beginning of the week, and then we close out the week with DinDAO at the end on Thursday evening.
I missed last Thursday's meeting.
That's all right.
My alarm went off at 1:30. I go, okay, 30 minutes. I gotta get prepped for this. I gotta get ready, and yeah, it's all good. It's all good.
That's the beauty of decentralization. Is like someone's around. But yeah, we've got some initial work done on it already. The design of it, and there has been a conversation with front end and back end developers to see what would be required, and it sounds like it's a pretty straightforward, easy ask. And I don't think it'll take too long. So it should be another. I don't know if it'll be a rapid. I don't think it'll be a rapid cycle. Like maybe 2 weeks instead of 1. I don't know. Or longer. I'm not putting a timeline out there. I don't want to put any pressure, but I don't think it'll be that long. It's not going to be 3 months. That kind of thing.
We'll have it today.
Yeah. So thank you, Earth Dragon.
Just because of the nature of the type of layer that, like the layers that won. The only thing that could keep people in the comment section like not talking about guns is the fact that there was also like a layer.
Yeah. The firearms layer is going to be great. I noticed that Litecoin Lisa had jumped in and gotten some. She bought some lore, I think, on Uniswap and brought it in to vote on that because she's a newer account and didn't have a bunch of it built up yet.
Yeah, she was chatting with us last week, wasn't she? Yeah.
Yeah. And I saw her a photo of her on the back of a 4-wheeler with a pink hunting rifle, and so I think she'll be perfect for that layer.
Badass. That's perfect.
Nice.
Chad wants to know what determines which layers are auto subbed to versus the layers that we have to join. To be perfectly honest with you, there's not anything more than every now and then it's evaluated by DinDAO. To see, okay, what new layers have come in and what layers of the ones that auto sub have gone dormant and, which ones do we think? So yeah, that's basically it.
Cool.
It's not a sexy answer, but it's kind of what it is.
What kind of firearms are you posting in the guns layer?
Let's see. Well,
can I go first? Can I go first?
Go for it.
Yeah. I got a Nerf shooter.
Hell
24. Yeah. 24.
24 dark capacity.
The dark capacity, right?
I had
looks like a Gatling gun.
Battery powered. Oh hell yeah!
My favorite gun as a child was the I think it was called the Super Soaker 2000 or something. Anyway, it had a backpack
Yes.
for the water, right? And you could fill the whole backpack up, so you never run out of ammunition whenever you're fighting. And it has a tube that comes down and you pump it, and then you can just like keep pumping and hold the trigger down and keep pumping, and it just keeps squirting, and then you win the game.
I'm so glad that you. Is this the 3000 had the backpack?
3000, yeah.
I had this one here. Let me pull it up really quick.
You should throw that in the throwbacks layer.
Oh, I'm going to, but I'm going to share this on the share screen real quick. Let's do this. How do you do this again? Super Soaker 3000 on DuckDuckGo. Boom. Check this thing out. So when I was a kid, I had this guy here, and it was
okay.
And the reason I had it was because I loved the movie Ghostbusters. Okay.
Okay.
Because that was a movie from 1984. No, there wasn't like a toy proton pack you could buy for.
It wasn't on the shelf, right?
So my mother bought this as a compromise, and I played many a pretend game of hunting ghosts with that.
That's great. Yeah, that works.
That's awesome. I can't believe you brought that random memory back. That's enough of that. Ugh, that's crazy. I haven't thought about that in a long time. I own one gun, I think. I have a single pistol. I had a shotgun for a while, but I don't really need a shotgun in this tiny apartment.
I've had a lot of guns. I had when I was a kid, when I was like maybe 8 years old, I had a 410 pump action shotgun, and my grandpa had a 22 bolt action 22 rifle, and I would use that a lot too. And then like I've had a few different pistols. My favorite one got stolen from me, unfortunately. Break-in, robbery, that kind of thing. But it was an XD40.
Oh, you had a pistol.
Yeah, so it was a 40 caliber, but it held if one of them is chambered, it held 13 rounds. Damn. So it had a pretty high capacity for a 40 caliber. Because you go to 45 and then the capacity goes down because they're bigger rounds. So I had that. That was my go-to, like just in case bad neighborhood things like people breaking in your house happened, And then I don't have anything impressive anymore. I've got a couple of I've got a 9mm and a 22 pistol, and that's it. And an air rifle. I got a fantastic Ruger air rifle.
That thing is
which
badass.
is badass. Yeah, that's what I'll do. I'll do the air rifle. That's what I'll show first. Because honestly, I'm really impressed with it. It's got really, really good construction. The wood stock. It has a scope. It has the ammunition is it's powderless. That's an air rifle. It's a pump, BB gun. But it's got these flanged sided, I don't know, it flies straight and pointy. and
it's a pellet.
I'll have to show it off. Yeah, I'll do a little demo of that.
Pretty cool. I never had, when I was growing up, my mom was very anti firearm. She was not about it. So I never got to have a gun when I was a kid. But finally, I didn't even have a BB gun, right? So finally, one day when I was 15 or whatever, I did a job for a customer. And he was like, well, look, I don't really have any cash to pay you, but I've got this rifle. And he would give me this little lever action rifle. And I was like, well, sure, I'll take that. So imagine me walking home through
coming home with it.
I'm 15. I'm walking through the middle of town with a rifle over my shoulder, just doop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop.
In high springs, probably nobody cared.
Not a bit. Cops passed me. I got waved at. It was fine. The only other gun I had was this replica black powder pistol that was beat up and didn't work anymore. But I got really good at doing the cowboy spinning of a gun. So my little pistol, I had a little shitty Heritage, 22 Magnum that I can use if somebody comes in my door. But I basically every once in a while I'll just take all the bullets out of it and sit there and just spin it around and try and keep doing that. Which usually leads to watching Tombstone.
Yeah, I used to watch a lot of Westerns when I was growing up too with my grandparents. We had a big satellite dish, the big kind.
Hell yeah.
And little receiver inside where if we wanted to watch Westerns, it was on this satellite. But if we wanted to watch sci-fi and Doctor Who, it was on that satellite. So you would punch in the satellite and it would go boom,
turn
and automatically turn to it. I thought it was the coolest thing I've ever seen.
It's still pretty cool.
Yeah.
Nowadays
I kind of want one.
I didn't know that was a thing until I was at the store one day and we get a lot of recycling at the shop. and somebody brought this pile of stuff in a box, and it was these huge capacitors and this big central motor thing and a knob that had like north, south, east, and west on it. And I was like, what the hell does this thing do? And when Craig came in, he was like, oh, that's for satellite dishes. You'd turn it and it would like automatically turn. It's like, that was a thing?
Synchro servo. Yeah. You turn, it's a synchro servo system.
That did not compute to me at all. That was a thing that you had to do at some point.
Cool.
Yeah, for sure. I kind of want one of those things just because they look cool. I bet you could pick up I don't know. I feel like you can pick up FM radio from Key West up here or something. I don't know.
Let's start
point it across the ocean, line of sight, you know.
So start looking for aliens with old satellite dishes. Just put like 10 of them in your front yard.
Mm-hmm. Somebody did propose a UFO layer. I saw.
I mean,
cool.
That looked pretty cool.
Yeah.
There's your inside, post from the government. I've been, whatever.
They secretly proposed that layer.
Yeah,
like the government's already here. They've integrated. Didn't you used to hold a political job? Yeah. Starting to think I am here might be a freaking mole.
Yeah, all humans are welcome.
Yeah. How do you know I'm human?
I don't know.
Yeah. He might be. He's a reptilian.
Yeah.
The guy that proposed the reptilian thing was actually shooting.
Who was it? It wasn't David Icke, was it?
I don't remember what his name is. He's this guy that he was a con man. He actually got the governmental entity of California in the early 1900s to let him dig under, the big old hill, whatever it is in California, because apparently the Spanish came through there and put a bunch of gold under there, and he knew about it. So they paid him for like 7 months to dig this fortune up before realizing that they had been had. And then a year later, he brings out this device that's got like a car battery hooked to it and some dowsing rods. And like it shot this beam into the ground, apparently using radioactive metal material or whatever. He shot a beam into the ground and found all these underground tunnels with like gold and people living in them. And that is the actual origin of why people think that lizards rule the world.
That sounds great. I want to read more about that.
100% thing that happened. It's insane. He genuinely got paid an equivalent of like $1 million and something just in funds for digging this hole and digging bare minimum amounts of this hole and keeping as much extra money as they could.
How can I maximize how much I get paid to go dig a hole in somebody's yard?
And like, how can I convince people that I found some Spanish treasure?
That's interesting. I was reading through the WikiLeaks database yesterday, and I was reading the Scientology dumps, and it's got it's interesting because they actually talk about the thing where you hold on to the two deals, and it's got the and it tells you
I don't know what it's called.
And is like in itself, this thing does literally nothing. It's just a tool for you to explore people's psyche and get them to talk about things that they need to work on spiritually so that you can go in that direction. And I was like, you know what? If you just said that, I think people would be like, why are you making it? It's an historical religious relic from the aliens.
Because people are insane, and for some reason, nobody can it has to be magic. That's the thing that I've learned over life on planet Earth. Not very much of it here, as I'm damn near 28, not even that old, but like over life on Earth, like people have to have magic. It can't just be, this is the way this works on your brain from a psychological standpoint. It has to be Magic Man in the sky or magic aliens brought it, and something crazy.
I've gone back and forth on this, but generally I'm fine with magic.
Me too.
My only question is my only question is, how does magic work? That's what I want to know.
I always
understand how it works. Is it still magic, or does it become science?
Somebody who's been pagan for a long time, I think there is magic out there in the world, and I'm sure that it's some kind of energy force that we just don't have a scientific explanation for. And once we do, goodbye pagan religion. It'll just be, here's how energy works.
Like gravity. Once we figure out how gravity works.
Yes.
We can measure it. We know it exists. We know how it interacts. We know what it does to other stuff and all that. We have no idea. Collectively, as a human species, we have no idea how gravity
we have
works.
no clue why a large object causes a force to pull towards it.
So that would be magic. That would be magic to me. That's an example.
And at the end of the day, I'm a computer technician, but I don't fathom how somebody mathematically figured out a way to make this device in front of me send electricity and put a picture on a screen. I have no idea how that works. To me, that's still totally
how much
magic.
time you got?
Oh God, no, Dave, no. We can go over this at some point. Honestly, jokes aside, for everybody listening, Dave is a fantastic person if you ever just need something very, very minutely explained to you. When I was trying to get a computer job a while back, when he was still living at that other house, he was like, come over, I'll explain to you like everything about how RAID works and how like the C++ thing works. I still have those notes, like there's mountains of them.
Awesome. Thank you.
There's a quick plug for
I'm
Dave.
glad. I'm glad it was useful. You know what I mean?
I still use it. Like I know how RAID functions to tell my customers how RAID functions because of that. So
I once explained to a friend, to George.
Oh,
you know George, yeah.
Oh, George.
Barefoot George, yeah.
Oh, I love Barefoot George.
So I once explained to Barefoot George why Adobe Flash Player sucks, and I started it. And I started with electrons.
Yes.
And I was like, how do I explain that?
Oh,
Okay, George.
wow.
I know George well enough that he loved that.
Right. And so he's the kind of personality who will go down that trip with you. Yeah. And that's like, that was always something I appreciated about him, is he was willing to go down rabbit holes.
George is the first guy I ever got high with.
But he never really understood how computers work. You know what I mean? So like, how can I describe why Flash Player sucks if I can't describe how computers work in the first place? They're very related. And so I had to explain how computers worked. I had to explain how electricity works.
Wow.
Hey.
You know what I mean? So I had to just go down that rabbit hole.
That's the kind of way that you explain stuff. Like you like to make sure that people, when they're getting a bunch of information, that they don't just get like a sensory overload. They get like, here's why this works. Here's why this works. And that pertains to why this works. It's the same way I try to explain stuff to people at the store.
In a simplistic manner as well, so that it's easily for anyone to grasp and understand. Right.
That's what I tried to. I read something once that stuck with me, or no, I saw it in a movie or something. It was a guy talking about how he was good at teaching people stuff, and he said, I can teach Japanese to a monkey if I can find something to relate it to. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. You just have to understand. You have to understand what that person does understand first of all. And you use something that you think they might understand to describe what you're trying to explain.
You do use that all the time because it's like find this tiny nugget of earth to stand on.
Yeah, right. That's kind of what I dig for. Is like, okay, what do you already get? And I'm like, okay, how can I relate this to that?
Okay, then how were the Great Pyramids created, Dave? And what about that guy who created that castle in Florida somewhere?
So that guy in Florida. I don't have any idea how that guy in Florida did it. I would be more like I'm less baffled a little bit by the pyramids than I am sometimes when I think about what one dude in Florida did with a bunch of I don't get it.
They're like limestone blocks, right?
A guy built a limestone castle.
This dude like was really. He's the guy that was in Love, right? And he built this compound in Florida alone over the course of I don't know how many decades or years or whatever it
30
was.
years.
But
his name is Bruce Woods.
Huge, enormous limestone. Like he didn't have cranes. He didn't have he built all of that like himself somehow.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it's like people in the morning would just get up and all of a sudden there's another 2-ton stone that's been hung.
See,
yeah,
like what? How in the world? How did he do this at night? And he's by himself.
Well, this is why it kind of screws me up because it's relatively recent. You know what I mean? Like it's one thing. It's one thing to be like, okay, that was so long ago, and there might be some lost techniques. But this is an example of something relatively recent where it's like, what the actual fuck?
I may have an answer for this.
Elon Musk's father. Elon Musk's father.
Oh, it's Elon's dad. That's where Elon Musk. That's where the real Elon lives.
That's where all the emerald is.
That's where the robot that controls Elon Musk is. Okay, so there is a fascinating series out of France, and it's called The Fires of Gedalon. And these people have spent the past 30 years, I think is the actual like projected time. They're halfway through it, building a castle the way it would have been built in the 13th century. Same tools.
Okay, cool.
Like they built a whole blacksmithing area. They fire all the tiles. They wear the right garb. People move over here and they stay there for a year living as though it's the 1300s. Like they eat grass and stuff. It's wild. So they do the same techniques. Like they carve the stones. They have masons that make it. So, I mean, a lot of the techniques that were used to build most of the castles that are still standing today are fairly well documented in the world of archaeology. And a lot of this experimental archaeology over the past 15 or so years has happened that's given us a ton of answers as to how those stones were shaped, what the certain points of, various angles are, how we made sure lines were perfect, how they blocked windows, things like that. So there's tons of info on that. So I'm hopefully he's just a history nut he seems to have done fairly well. It doesn't look like you'd fit a sheet of paper between those stones.
Yeah.
I think there's a question about like pyramids that when was it built? I think is there's history books and there's research and there's general ideas and things like that. But are you guys familiar? I'm trying to figure out the name of it right now. But it's a period in time like called the lower
the Younger Dryas.
The Younger Dryas. Yes, yeah. Younger Dryas. So that's something that's a rabbit hole, right?
Yeah, boy, big time. And then the coastline was so much different. Yeah. The coastline would have been like 300 miles outside, east of Cuba.
What insane
and
thing?
200 miles west of
thing that I can just.
I'm working on it. I'm bringing it up. Hold on.
But what was that guy? The Coral Castle. That's what that one is called in Florida. It's called the Coral Castle.
Yes, Coral Castle in Florida. Yes.
I don't know what city it was.
That is beautiful.
But it's amazing. How in the world did he do it? It's crazy.
Here we go.
By hand. Jesus. Now I'm just looking at Catalan Castle.
Yeah, I found a graph. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah, I don't think we have the pyramids dated correctly. I think some other pharaoh just walked up and said, I'm pharaoh and I'm going to name this the Giza Plateau. And and it was already there for 2,000 years.
Well, so there's something interesting about that. Depending on which pyramid we're talking about, you're not wrong. And it's so like, for instance, like the Great Pyramid that we always talk, the Pyramid of Khufu, which is the Great Pyramid.
Right.
By the time that pyramid was being written about in Egyptian language that we can actually read and understand and everything, it was already 2,500 years old. And nobody in Egypt even really knew what King Khufu did, or if he was a prominent figure, or if he just happened to have a shitload of money. So like even to them, they didn't understand a lot of their pyramid stuff. So we probably had a lot of it dated wrong. Some of it's dated excellent. Like the Black Pyramid, for instance, is dated excellently, just judging by the amount of erosion we can get off of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also why you don't build pyramids out of mud. So
right. Fascinating stuff.
So the graph I've got up, Gravity Crab. This is on the bottom axis. You've got on the right it's 0, and then it goes back in time from there.
Weird way to do BCE, but
yeah, whatever. And wait, what did they do? What's weird?
BP instead of before present. There was this weird thing a while back where they were trying to change BC to something else. And
before Common Era. Before
Common Era is the main one now. Before present was like a potential that they were going to use.
Okay. I've never seen BP. I've seen BCE a lot. You learn something every day. But yeah, so then on the left is the temperature is on that axis. And then what they're pointing out is look at this box as their point here. The whole story of human civilization as it is taught to us supposedly unfolds in this period. And so all of it started at the beginning of the end of this ice age, I guess, right? The Younger Dryas cooling. So from here, as temperatures warmed, this is all of human civilization.
Right.
And then the medieval warm period is over here. Now, my question is, the hell happened on the left side? Was there nothing? Was there no higher civilization? Was there no like organized societies that developed? Like, and you can go further back than that.
We've got, so from that period of time that you're looking at here, I'm trying to even figure out like where we're.
Well, we have.
What year is this? Like, what year is this supposed to be?
Well, Younger Dryas was what, around 12,000 years ago.
Right.
So, but yeah, we have. We know that humans were on. In North America, they used to say 10, 12,000 years ago, but now they have other evidence that.
The guy we pulled out of the bog, right?
Far sooner than that.
Yeah, the guy we pulled out of the bog.
Yeah, those footprints that were found recently in New Mexico, and preserved, that's one example.
Right, and that begs the question: like, if that's true, then where did they come from? If there were no humans before the Younger Dryas, or before
nobody says there's no humans before the Younger Dryas.
There. We do know that there were. As a matter of fact, looking at your graph, with that Younger Dryas and that sharp decline going into a colder period, that was obviously a mega extinction event.
Yeah.
But it didn't wipe out all the humans. You know what I mean? But it certainly wiped out like several. Like recently, I was reading about the concept of fairies and little leprechauns and this kind of thing. There was a species of human on the human chain, if you will, I want to say it was in Malaysia or the Philippines, but their average height was like 3 feet 2 inches, 3 feet 7 inches. It's really fascinating.
There's a crazy concept of that.
And Neanderthal, we still have Neanderthal DNA amongst us.
Yeah, Neanderthal and Homo sapiens are about the only ones that made it through this period.
Right. And then
I'll have to look into it more because I don't think I understand it well enough. But so you're saying this is basically a kill-off event.
That's a kill-off point.
No,
we have tons of recorded human evidence before that of like Neolithic and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the thing that's crazy about what you're saying about smaller people and like other, potentially other subspecies of humans that probably all died out and we just don't have a ton of evidence for yet. There's a human integrated fear that plays into that. So when you look at something that looks like a person and it's not entirely humanoid or whatever, you get that uncanny feeling. Something is off about it. You're afraid of it, but you don't know why. That's a deeply ingrained human concept that a lot of people have actually speculated has to do with subspecies of people that we might have even had fights with or had been totally different than us. And we were like, oh, these people they come and they kill us or we need to go kill them. So that's one of the reasons that we're afraid of certain things. It's the other thing. It's also why some people are afraid involuntarily of like certain types of bugs, like cockroaches and like silverfish is a big one. People are afraid of silverfish. What if at some point silverfish were bigger and like cockroaches were bigger? And people are like, we're ingrained to be afraid of them. And it's just part of human nature down the line.
Yeah. I've heard that about like insects and stuff before, roaches, spiders, stuff like that.
I think you and I have talked about that one before.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting. Like, cause the other, there's two things. One, I got to look into this more. I hate to even bring the Younger Dryas thing up because I haven't looked into it enough to really understand what's going on there.
I'm going to be looking at that all
day. And then the other thing that coincides sort of with this to me is it's weird that it's about 12,000 years ago because there's other interesting patterns that have like 12,000 year cycles and things like that. So it kind of is like, I need to look into that too. It's like, is something coming?
Okay. Yeah. All right. Now you're digging into my realm. So
okay, right.
I'm a little bit more of a prepper. Okay. I am. And the reason is it's not so much of the, political chaos or a collapse of the economy, but I'm freaked out by a CME, from the sun.
Yeah, me too. That's my one thing is a solar flare.
Right. A solar flare. And we have
resets us.
Right now we're going through a little bit of a weakening of our, magnetic sphere that's protecting us from solar radiation and the CME and this kind of thing. And what's fascinating is the sun also has a 400-year pattern, a 400-year cycle, shall we say. And every 400 years we go through a cooling period. And we're about ready to sink into a cooling period. So the idea of climate change and warming and this kind of thing. And if you look at civilizations, every 400 years there was a collapse because it was almost like a famine that happened because of colder temperatures. the River Thames froze. There were times where there was no summer. It was kind of a spring and a fall, and there weren't very many crop yields, and there was famine. Well, when there's not enough food and there's famine, people revolt against whoever's in charge, the king or the queen of the day, and the monarchs or whomever. And so we're getting ready to go into another phase in that kind of 400-year cycle. And then in that 400-year cycle, the magnetic sphere is weakened. We're more susceptible to a grid down situation from a CME. And this is where
that's something I've also seen. The 400-year cycle thing, I think it's awesome that you bring that up, because I've read about this a couple of times, and in some of the history stuff I've looked into, it really does appear that even like the Roman Empire, the Greeks, people that the Egyptians, people that survived an ungodly period of time, 400 to 500 years, boom, something massive happens that resets a chunk of civilization, and then by the time it peaks back up, it happens again.
Right.
And it's happened repeatedly over and over. And there's even depictions of, like, Pliny the Elder has one about before the eruption of Vesuvius and stuff like that, how it got cold and then the flashes of skylight.
Right.
Depicted. And this is literally one of our primary sources for, which you have to take with a grain of salt because it's Pliny, but he's literally one of our primary sources for Greek times. So him being a primary source saying, it got cold, there was weird skylight, now Vesuvius erupts and this is where I'm dying.
Sure. Well, and then you look at the 12,000-year cycle. There's a major catastrophe, and ice age and this kind of thing every 12,000 years. So
yeah, and I don't know a lot of what you're talking about, but that's something that I've noticed where I've put it on my list of like, okay, you need to look into that more because that's interesting.
Yeah.
Fascinating. So there you go. So we need another layer for that.
We need a prepper's layer. We need a whistleblower layer, and we need we need a layer where we can all just take our excess matter, because once something happens and we're all screwed anyways, we can have our excess matter, and we can just take bets on what's going to happen first. Here, I'm going to say tomorrow at 5 p.m. the world blows up.
There you go. I'm gonna put that in the contest.
Someone's going to be right.
Predictions of the world ending.
Collapse predictions.
Collapse of society predictions.
Yeah, I like that. Collapse predictions. What's going to happen next?
I make jokes about it all the time, but if anybody ever wants to know some deep thought into David's psychology here on how I think the world is going to go, I genuinely 100% believe that I will, in my lifetime, watch the collapse of the United States, a revamp of whatever on Earth happens from that, and probably just the potential death of civilization. We're so close to just killing ourselves. It's not even funny.
You got potentially, I guess, 70 years in you, man.
Man, so, I know. I'm over here thinking, God, I hope it happens when I'm 80, but with my luck, it's going to be 40.
A lot could happen in that time.
Yeah. Die, Dave.
Let's hope for a peaceful civil war in the U.S.
A peaceful civil war. I'd be all right with that.
There is a prepper's layer proposed.
Divorce. Yeah.
I was just counting them.
I've voted heavily into that one to try to get it through.
Yeah, I was just counting. Yeah. It's 6 down, so it doesn't make it into the. You can still, you can still buy it for 2,500 matter, but if it was in the top 5, it would have been cheaper to buy it. At the end of the LCP, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So yeah.
World news, man! I really want world news to get in there. I think that could be pretty big. A lot of postings in that one to generate a lot of.
I think I may have seen someone talking on Den about paying the matter fee for runner-up. For runner-up in world news. That might actually happen. That might get through. I don't know if it is.
See, I should have gotten involved in that one and thrown a lot into that one to get it through. I really messed up. I meant to be online during this whole, because it's exciting to watch that thing click over.
I love the LCP.
Yeah, it's exciting. I wanted. I really messed up. I should have been doing that.
I was in the last minute. I was throwing in extra lore that I had gotten, mined and stuff, and it was right down to the wire. In fact, I tried to do the last vote I tried to make. It timed out on me right when I was making it and locked out.
Wow. I remember I posted a huge amount into the India layer and the Japan layer because I wanted them to go through the previous month into the certain slots.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was like 3 and 5 or something.
Yep, 3 and 5. So let me
that's right, I gotta
collapse
get Jackie on the
this.
Japan
Collapse
layer.
this. Yep. I think I gave her some lot already for that, by the way.
Hey guys, have Linux lot?
Mhm.
Can I have some Linux lot, Dave?
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Real quick, on a totally different note, pertinent because it's one of our denizens. Jacob Wayne's hard drive is recoverable.
Oh, fantastic!
You
Nice.
have like you have a bunch of hard drives laying around that are huge, right?
Yeah. What do you need? I got I'm looking at a 16 terabyte external right there.
You got the car?
I have to see if Tina took the bike to work or not.
If you would like to slide a hard drive by my job later, if you can find the time, that'd be real cool. So I can get it backed up, make sure it's recoverable before I have him send me a drive to put it on.
Okay.
Make sure I can get it. Because I can make an internal drive and external drive, no problem.
Yeah, hit me up on Session or on Den or whatever, and let me know how much you need.
5 terabytes, but
just
a massive drive would be fine. Just something to throw it on, and I'm just going to use it to back that data up and then dump it.
I just gave a 5 terabyte to y'all weird.
Of course you did. Well, I mean, like one of the 16s is fine. I'll just make sure that it's
as long as I can have it back, it's yours for
no, you can have it. I have no need for it to keep it. What the hell would I do with 16 terabytes? How many Skyrim mod lists?
Download the internet.
How many Skyrim mod lists could I set up with 16 terabytes?
You know, I know if we had just one solid whistleblower, they could fill up those 16 terabytes.
Sure they could. And we got, you know what? That's what we should do. We should advertise it. Dear whistleblowers, we have tons of storage space.
At Den.social.
Den.social. And nobody knows where it is.
It would be cool if like newspapers and stuff had their own layer where they could interact with people. I mean, a lot of things would be cool.
Well, I think that about rolls us. We're passing our time here.
Oh yeah.
It's been a good morning. Thanks for joining again. I am.
Been fun. Been fun.
Hey, you're welcome anytime. I think we count you as an honorary co-host at this point.
Nice. Thank you.
On that note, we're going to be opening another layer for this show. It's since we have regular people chiming in the replies and stuff, I enjoy doing it. I'm pretty sure Gravity Crab and T Swift or Die enjoys doing it. We would like to reward people more. Like I've been tipping out with Matter, of course. I usually do it on a screen so you can see me do it. But the idea is to sort of copy what World Blockchain Roundtable did, where and this is related to what Full Value Dan was asking me earlier, where can you, as a business, can you just mint on the fly based on how many you need, whatever, that kind of thing. So I think we can have a powwow and talk about what that model might look like. I'm curious if anybody has any ideas. Basically like, okay, use WBRT as kind of an idea, and then say, okay, is there anything, because of the type of show this is there anything else that we could do that's fun? Maybe talk about like contests or something and integrate it. So yeah, that's on the way. I don't know when we'll do that, but it'll be soonish, and then we can start giving everyone ownership of this layer as we in addition to giving Matter out, or maybe instead of, I don't know, we could give lot.
We could buy some we could get some merch, some of the Coffee with Den merch, and like not auction it, but like give some of it away as like raffles and stuff. That'd be cool.
Yeah do cool stuff.
I still should probably buy a damn coffee mug one of these days.
Yeah, I need to too, because I drink my coffee. Is it a pretty good sized mug? Because I always use a big mug.
2 sizes, yeah. There's like a little baby mug that everybody assumes is like normal. If you go to a coffee, if you go to a what do you call them? Not a deli, a
coffee shop.
Not a coffee shop, a place where you get breakfast all day.
Diner.
Thank you. If you go to a diner, there's a coffee, and they give you coffee in a little diner cup.
Mm-hmm.
That's one size, and then there's the mug of, if you're an American, you drink out of that.
It'll fit under a Keurig, right?
I don't know about that.
Probably.
I don't have a Keurig. I don't know. You have to send me some measurements. Send me some specs.
Send the specs of your Keurig.
What's the Keurig specs? And see if it matches up. I got a couple of mugs. I bought a butt ton of Den merch, so I just have an inventory here because we're going to sell them on our own website for Matter.
Right.
So people can locally buy them with their Matter they earned, or anybody else ship them. I don't care.
Screw it. We'll send it. Why not? You want a Den mug? Sure.
Yep. So cool. Let's wrap up for today. And congratulations to. Oh, you know what? I didn't answer one quick question, which was now I have to see who it was. Real quick. I don't. It's like in the back of my mind. Very end. No. Sorry, I'm talking to myself while I navigate. Oh yeah, so Dragon Chain Holder. I saw Erotic Layer win. Is that correct? Is it eligible? Yeah, so it's eligible now. There was a Den.social vote that was passed that was put out and asks, hey, should we lift the embargo on the NSFW layers? And the conclusion of that DAO vote was yes. So it is eligible. And yeah, we've gone over the features of it. So I think that'll wrap that up. So cool. Tomorrow we have Thursdays usually pretty interesting for me. I'm on 2 different shows usually. World Blockchain Roundtable. The topic. Do we know what the topic is? What is the topic?
I didn't see.
I was not prepared. Let's find out. I know that new things, new topics for July passed. And the one for tomorrow, though, is going to be blockchain. Oh, yeah, great. Blockchain in a bear market. So that'll be interesting. Yeah. So if you have any questions about blockchain in a bear market, which I'm rumor has it that's what we're in now. I don't know. That's what I've been told. Then go put it there. And then our July themes for next month are going to be a full episode devoted to current events, which is not necessarily blockchain. So that'll be interesting. Usually we go off for 30 to 45 minutes before every show with that.
I'm just battling about what's happening in the world anyways.
Yeah, the second week is going to be raising capital for an idea, project, or company. The third week will be the pitfalls of celebrity shilling. And then the fourth week of July will be DAOs as constitutional city-states. That's the one I'm looking forward to.
That's going to be
DAOs as constitutional city-states. Get your questions ready for that one. All right. So then, like I said, we have also Thursday evening is Den.social, the meeting. I Am's computer is about to die, it sounds like. And
in your charger.
So come to the meeting if you want to chime in or just listen to us talk about the next thing we're building. I'm sure it'll be about the anonymous posting feature that was selected as the next one. So that's what we'll be talking about there. And of course, go vote on stuff. Use up your energy every day on Den. There's a pool of matter that's rewarded for even using your energy at all. In addition to rewards for voting and coming to a consensus with your community, go out there and get those quorums. Let us know what should and shouldn't be on there. And thank you for helping us build Den.social. Bye, everyone.
Hold on, wait. Oh, you got to have your chime off for your guest here. Any chime off for our lower guest?
I was just going to cut it off.
Just cut me off.
No, it's all good. David, anything real quick you want to shout out to?
Oh God, no, I wasn't talking about me.
Okay. Cool. Next.
Oh crap. Be nice to your waiters and waitresses, and you can't stop the signal, and hack the planet. Okay, done.
Awesome. I am. What's up, man? Any words of wisdom you want to put out about 400 and 1200 year cycles? Where can I jump off and look at that? What are the secrets to life, the universe, and everything? And why is it 42?
No comment. I can't divulge those secrets.
No, they're all secrets. He's actually.
No, you know what? I would just tell everybody. We don't know what's coming this third, fourth quarter, and just pick up an extra. Thing of rice and beans. That's my only suggestion.
Grab yourself some non-perishables.
Save some money because it's just going to pay. It's just going to cost more later anyway.
Okay.
There you go.
That's fair.
I'm gonna go buy some rice.
There you go. All right. No, thanks for everything. Looking forward to it. And yes, do the roundtable gig. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, it's gonna be
cool.
Awesome being able to do that with having our own layer for it.
Yep, it'll be great.
All right.
Thanks everyone again. Have a good week, week. Have a good day. Have a good life. If I don't ever see you again, I hope I do though. So see you next week.
See ya.
Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best. impossible, all capital, label radical yet rational. A tactical approach is palpable if this animal is fallible, but that conclusion is laughable. So with for all detachable from the mandible, you see it now.